Hello everyone, welcome back to Elite Tales. Here we discover the emotional and captivating stories about Elon Musk. In this video, we will capture the heartwarming moments of famous entrepreneur. Before we begin, I request you that please subscribe our channel for more interesting videos. The world knows them as rivals, two of the most influential tech moguls on the planet. Elon Musk, the relentless innovator, chasing dreams of interplanetary existence and AI safety. Mark Zuckerberg, the social media visionary, connecting billions of people and shaping how the world interacts online. On the surface, their goals seem starkly different, yet their lives were intertwined in ways few could imagine. It all began in the mid-2000s when both men were just stepping into the global spotlight. Zuckerberg, fresh off the success of Facebook, was being hailed as the young genius who had revolutionized how people communicated. Musk, having sold PayPal, was already dreaming of electric cars, solar energy, and colonizing Mars. Though they didn't interact much back then, each quietly followed the other's journey. Years later, their paths crossed during a high-profile tech summit. It was a gathering of minds that celebrated innovation, but underneath the polished speeches and applause was an unspoken tension between the two. Elon, outspoken and visionary, often criticized artificial intelligence and its unchecked development, something that Zuckerberg strongly believed in as a tool for good. At a panel discussion, the topic of AI took center stage. Zuckerberg passionately defended his vision. Artificial intelligence is not something to fear. It has the power to cure diseases, improve lives, and bring humanity closer together. Elon, sitting across from him, raised an eyebrow. Unless it destroys humanity first, he quipped, his voice steady but firm. We can't ignore the risks just because the potential benefits sound appealing. The audience was riveted, watching two of the most brilliant minds in the world clash over the future of technology. But what most didn't see was the deeper layer beneath their words. For Elon, the fear of AI wasn't just academic, it was personal. He had seen how unchecked ambition in technology could go wrong. For Zuckerberg, the criticism felt like an attack on his life's work, the very platform that had brought billions of people together. Despite the public debates, there was mutual respect between them. But respect didn't erase the differences in their philosophy. Their rivalry wasn't about ego, it was about the weight of their beliefs and the futures they envisioned. Behind the scenes, both men faced struggles the world rarely saw. For Elon, the weight of his ambitious projects often took a toll on him. He had sleepless nights, worrying if Tesla could meet production deadlines or if SpaceX would survive another failed launch. Every setback felt like a personal failure, not just to him but to the millions who believed in his vision. He confided in close friends that the pressure was suffocating. I'm not afraid of working hard, he would say, but sometimes, I wonder if I'm pushing too hard. Mark, on the other hand, carried the burden of responsibility for Facebook's impact on the world. As the platform grew, so did its influence and its controversies. The spread of misinformation, data privacy concerns, and the growing divide among users weighed heavily on him. In private moments, he questioned whether his creation was doing more harm than good. All I ever wanted was to connect people, he admitted to his wife, Priscilla, one evening. But now, I wonder if I've created something I can't control. Their rivalry reached its peak when the idea of the Metaverse entered the public sphere. Zuckerberg envisioned it as the next frontier, a virtual world where people could connect, work, and play. Musk, ever the skeptic, questioned its feasibility and purpose. We have enough problems in the real world, he said in an interview. Why are we trying to escape into a virtual one? Zuckerberg, watching the interview from his office, felt a pang of frustration. He wanted to pick up the phone and call Elon to explain that it wasn't about escapism, it was about possibilities. But he knew Elon wouldn't see it that way. What neither of them realized was that their journeys were more similar than different. Both men were driven by an unyielding desire to change the world, to leave behind a legacy that would outlast them. But they carried those dreams in different ways, Elon with fire and urgency, Mark with methodical persistence. One day, a mutual friend convinced them to meet privately, away from the cameras and the media. The meeting was tense at first. They sat across from each other in a quiet room, the silence stretching uncomfortably. But as they began to talk, something unexpected happened. They opened up. Elon spoke about his fear of failure, about the loneliness that came with being at the forefront of impossible dreams. He admitted that sometimes the criticism he faced felt overwhelming. People think I'm fearless, he said, his voice softer than usual. But the truth is, I'm terrified of letting everyone down. Mark listened, his usual composure replaced with genuine empathy. He shared his own struggles, the sleepless nights, the moments of doubt, and the burden of leading a company that shaped the world in ways he never anticipated. "I just want to do the right thing," he said quietly. "But it's hard to know what that is sometimes." For the first time, they saw each other not as rivals, but as two people grappling with the immense responsibility of shaping the future. As the conversation continued, they found common ground. They agreed that while their approaches were different, their ultimate goal was the same: to create a better world. That meeting didn't end their rivalry, it wasn't meant to. But it planted a seed of understanding. Over time, they began to respect not just each other's work, but the reasons behind it. In the years that followed, their paths continued to cross. They still debated, still challenged each other's ideas, but there was a newfound respect in their exchanges. They understood that their rivalry wasn't about defeating one another, it was about pushing each other to be better. In the end, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg remained two of the most influential figures of their time. Their journeys were marked by challenges, triumphs, and an enduring rivalry that shaped the world in profound ways. And though the world saw them as opposites, in the quiet moments they shared away from the spotlight, they knew the truth. They weren't so different after all. As the years passed, the public narrative of Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg's rivalry evolved. What once was portrayed as a stark conflict between opposing visions gradually shifted into a story of mutual growth and complementary ideals. While their approaches remained different, Elon's grandiose visions of Mars colonies and Mark's push for the metaverse, they found themselves occasionally collaborating on issues larger than their respective companies. One such moment came during a global summit on climate change. The world was grappling with worsening environmental crises, and the need for bold action had never been greater. Despite their differences, both Elon and Mark were invited to join a panel focused on technology's role in combating climate change. Elon, as expected, spoke passionately about sustainable energy, the potential of solar power, and the advancements Tesla was making in battery technology. His charisma and unwavering belief in humanity's ability to innovate captivated the audience. Mark, in contrast, emphasized the role of digital tools in mobilizing global action. He spoke about how virtual platforms like the Metaverse could foster global conversations, educate communities, and connect people to solutions. "The future is interconnected," he said. "The more we collaborate, the more we can achieve." Their presentations were different, but the shared goal was evident. By the end of the session, the audience gave them a standing ovation, not just for their ideas, but for the realization that their combined influence could truly make a difference. Backstage, Elon approached Mark. "That was a solid presentation," he admitted. "I hadn't thought about how virtual spaces could be used to drive climate awareness." Mark smiled, surprised but appreciative. "And I have to admit, your work with Tesla and SpaceX is inspiring. You're tackling problems most people wouldn't even dream of addressing." That brief exchange marked a turning point in their relationship. While they didn't become close friends, they began to recognize the value in each other's perspectives. Over time, they occasionally exchanged ideas, offering insights that enriched their respective endeavors. Meanwhile, the public continued to watch their journeys with fascination. Documentaries, articles, and debates dissected their philosophies and contributions, often painting them as modern-day titans shaping the course of human history. Yet, away from the spotlight, both men remained deeply human, flawed, driven, and constantly learning. Elon continued to face challenges with SpaceX and Tesla, but he never wavered in his quest to push humanity forward. His dreams of reaching Mars came closer to reality with each passing year, and his focus on AI safety remained steadfast. Mark, too, encountered setbacks with the Metaverse and Facebook's evolution, but he stayed committed to his vision of a digitally connected world. The lessons he learned along the way shaped him, making him more mindful of the ethical implications of his work. One day, years after their first private meeting, they found themselves at another crossroads. A humanitarian crisis had struck, leaving millions displaced and in need of aid. Governments and organizations were overwhelmed, and it became clear that the private sector needed to step in. Elon proposed using Tesla's technology to provide solar-powered shelters and energy solutions, while SpaceX could deliver supplies to remote areas. Mark offered to leverage his platforms to coordinate relief efforts, raise funds, and connect volunteers with those in need. The collaboration was unprecedented. Together, they mobilized resources on a scale that had never been seen before. The impact was profound, and the world took notice. In the aftermath of the crisis, a journalist asked Elon what it was like to work with Mark Zuckerberg. Elon paused, a rare moment of reflection crossing his face. "We've had our differences," he said. "But at the end of the day, we both want the same thing, a better future. And sometimes, it takes a bit of tension to create something extraordinary." Mark, in a separate interview, shared a similar sentiment. "Elon and I don't always see eye to eye, but I think that's what makes our work meaningful. It's not about agreeing on everything, it's about challenging each other to think bigger." As their lives continued, their journeys remained intertwined, not as enemies, but as catalysts for each other's growth. Their rivalry had transformed into something deeper, a shared responsibility to use their influence for the greater good. In the quiet moments, away from the cameras and the headlines, they both understood that their greatest legacy wasn't in the technologies they built or the empires they led. It was in the lives they touched, the problems they helped solve, and the hope they inspired in a world that desperately needed it. Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg were more than just rivals. They were two sides of the same coin, proof that even the most contrasting visions could come together to shape a better future. In the twilight of their careers, as both men began to step back from the daily operations of their companies, the impact of their work became more apparent than ever. The world had changed partly because of their rivalry, partly because of their collaboration, but mostly because of their shared determination to leave the world better than they found it. For Elon, stepping away didn't mean slowing down. SpaceX's Mars colonization efforts were well underway, and the first settlers were preparing for their journey to the Red Planet. Tesla had revolutionized transportation, making electric vehicles the global standard. Neuralink and his AI safety initiatives had fostered a more measured approach to artificial intelligence, ensuring its development served humanity rather than threatening it. Mark's legacy, too, had grown far beyond Facebook and the Metaverse. His platforms had evolved into tools for education, collaboration, and social good. The Metaverse had matured into a space where people from different corners of the globe could work together to solve pressing issues, from climate change to healthcare. It wasn't just a virtual world anymore, it was a bridge connecting the real one. As they aged, the two men were often invited to reflect on their journeys. They rarely appeared together, but when they did, their interactions were marked by a quiet camaraderie that hinted at the respect they had cultivated over the years. At a major global summit celebrating advancements in technology and sustainability, both Elon and Mark were invited to give keynote speeches. By now, their presence on the same stage was no longer viewed as a clash of titans, but as a moment of unity. Elon spoke first, his voice as passionate as ever. "Humanity's survival depends on our ability to innovate," he said. "But innovation isn't just about building new things, it's about ensuring what we build has meaning, that it serves people and not just profits. Our progress on Earth will determine our success among the stars." Mark followed, his tone measured but filled with conviction. "Technology has always been a tool, one that reflects our values and choices. It's up to us to ensure those tools bring us closer, not drive us apart. Collaboration, even among rivals, is the key to solving the challenges we face." The audience erupted in applause, not just for their words, but for the shared wisdom they represented. As the summit ended, the two found themselves standing together on a balcony overlooking the city. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the skyline. "It's strange," Elon said after a moment. "When we started, it felt like we were on completely different paths. But looking back, I think we were running toward the same goal the whole time." Mark nodded. "We just had different ways of getting there. But I think that's what made it work. You forced me to think bigger, to consider the risks I might have ignored. And I hope, in some way, I pushed you too." Elon chuckled. "You did. More than I'd like to admit." For a moment they stood in comfortable silence, two visionaries who had shaped the world in ways few could ever dream. "I guess we're not so different after all," Mark said, a small smile on his face. Elon looked at him, his expression softening. "No, we're not. And I'm glad for it." As the sun dipped below the horizon, the two men shook hands, no cameras, no speeches, just a quiet gesture of mutual respect. Their rivalry had transformed into a partnership, not defined by competition, but by a shared commitment to building a better future. In the end, the world remembered them not just as innovators, but as leaders who showed that even the fiercest of rivals could find common ground when united by a greater purpose. And that, perhaps, was their greatest legacy of all. In the years that followed, the lives of Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg became symbols of possibility. Their contributions extended beyond technology. They became lessons in perseverance, collaboration, and the importance of balance in the pursuit of progress. As the next generation of innovators began to rise, Elon and Mark were frequently sought out for mentorship. Both men, now older and more reflective, approached these opportunities with humility. They spoke less about their personal achievements and more about the principles that had guided them through decades of success and struggle. Elon often spoke about resilience. There were moments when everything seemed to be falling apart, he would say, recalling the early days of Tesla and SpaceX. But it's in those moments that you have to keep moving forward. The future doesn't wait for you to feel ready, it demands action, even when it feels impossible. Mark, on the other hand, emphasized the importance of accountability. Technology is powerful, but it's also fragile, he explained to young entrepreneurs. Whatever you create, ask yourself how it will affect people not just today, but years from now. Responsibility doesn't end when the product launches, it's only the beginning. Their speeches and advice resonated deeply with aspiring leaders, many of whom were inspired by the unlikely partnership that had formed between the two. Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg had shown the world that true greatness wasn't about competition, it was about collaboration, even when differences seemed insurmountable. One particularly poignant moment came during a global awards ceremony celebrating pioneers of the 21st century. Both men were honored for their contributions to humanity, with heartfelt tributes highlighting the impact of their work. As they stood together on stage, the applause was deafening, a testament to the world's gratitude for their relentless efforts. In his acceptance speech, Elon turned to Mark and said, "I used to think our rivalry was a barrier, but now I realize it was a bridge. You challenged me to think differently, to push harder, and to be better. For that, I'm grateful." Mark, visibly moved, responded in kind. "And you reminded me that no dream is too big, no challenge too great. Your vision has inspired not just me, but billions around the world. It's been an honor to share this journey with you." The audience rose to their feet, applauding the unity between two of the most influential figures of their time. It was a moment that encapsulated their evolution not just as innovators, but as human beings who had grown through their rivalry and found strength in their differences. As they left the stage that night, the world knew it was witnessing the end of an era. But it wasn't a farewell, it was the beginning of a legacy that would endure for generations. Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg had shown that the most profound impact wasn't in the technologies they created, but in the example they set. Their story was a testament to the power of perseverance, the importance of empathy, and the extraordinary potential that emerges when we choose to work together. In the quiet moments of their later years, both men found peace in knowing they had given their best to the world. They remained in touch, occasionally meeting to discuss the latest advancements or to simply share a laugh. The world they left behind was far from perfect, but it was undeniably better because of their efforts. And as the sun set on their extraordinary lives, their legacy shone brightly, a guiding light for all who dared to dream of a brighter, more united future.